Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. Today, we're going to jump in and I'm going to ask a question we're going to actually talk about a topic that is kind of coming up in a lot of your notes to me. And this is really around your disappointment with things that your person did. So, in some cases, you don't like the way you've been treated, you don't necessarily like all the things that they've done. And so this is kind of that opportunity to get in, think about how we might reconcile that. Because a lot of you, you've come into this extreme bond. It's a little different from anything, maybe a lot different from anything else you've ever experienced. And it feels very much as if something has something has happened here with your self-worth. So you already were pretty far along the road of self-worth, and this is something that causes you to kind of clean up those edges and ensure that you are continuing down a road of self-worth. But in order to do that, you've got to reconcile your feelings about what has happened here, the disappointment that you felt. And so that can be a little bit challenging of a thing to do. It's really talking about forgiveness and being able to accept a person as they are, even if you're not always pleased with the ways that they've gotten there. So we're going to take a look at it. Like I said, it showed up in a number of readings. So this is kind of one of those conglomerate questions, but it's how do I reconcile my disappointment with the things that my person has done? So we're going to do this as it'll be a general reading, just like most of them are. I'm doing some personal readings out there on my Etsy page, but these that you see on YouTube are all general readings for the collective. But it's for this collective, so it's not going to resonate with everybody, and really it shouldn't. If it does resonate with you, then you may be part of this collective. You may want to check out some of the other messages that are out there. You may even want to subscribe. So we're going to start out by looking at the energetic backdrop. And so it's really kind of the energetic backdrop for right now. We've got the Seven of Stones. This is a lack of... It's a lack of investment, but it's a lack of putting their whole... This is them. This is their lack of putting their whole self into this. So where maybe you jumped in with both feet. Your person was very reserved about it and did not do that. So we're going to take a closer look at this because it is kind of that spirit of reservation is what comes through in today's energy. That spirit of reservation in particular is... I thought maybe that was one, has our attention in today's energy. So it may even show up for you, even though I feel like this is your person's energy. So we have the Fool and the High Priestess in reverse. Oh, hold on, we need that. So the Fool is really about not jumping into something new. This sense of reservation is manifesting in not jumping into something new, not... taking advantage of an opportunity that arises. So there's an opportunity that arises that your person doesn't take advantage of, and it's like this just sort of, this energy bleeds into you and you can see it there. So there's something that has come out of the woodwork for you or has become visible. It's a secret that's come available for you, possibly part of it may have become available to you through your intuition. It kind of feels like you just know something, but you do know something. And there's still this feeling of reservation and not jumping into something. It's not necessarily a bad feeling, but it's got that sense of the rainy day. With the Ace of Swords here, we're seeing the Truth once again, and the Queen of Pentacles is kind of the energy that saves you here a little bit, along with this Ten of Swords in reverse, because it is a feeling of... it's like a rainy day, but feeling pretty calm about it. So seeing this truth that is there and being okay with it, being able to handle this truth. What I'm drawn to at this card is really just... You see how the tail is wrapped around this sword but not getting cut? That is what I mean by being able to handle the truth without it destroying you. You know, it's got this feeling of, like with the High Priestess in reverse, the truth has come to both of you. There's been, and this could be very different truths. It doesn't necessarily have to be about this relationship. I think it's honestly, because of the nature of the relationship, the truths are going to be more about your respective selves. But both of you are also sitting in this calmness energy, which is kind of why it feels like a rainy day energy, but it's calm and it's okay. There is pain that falls away as a result of this, although it feels like it's not super evident as to why. So it's kind of a confusing feeling, but not a feeling that you get upset about, being confused about. So it is kind of a laid back feeling, even if it is a feeling of not much investment. We have the Ace of Cups, which is an ability to love. The Chariot, which is like this Fool in reverse. This is the inability to jump in. This Chariot feels like an inability to move oneself forward. We do want the Five of Wands. We don't want anything else here. And I'm just kind of cleaning up all those cards that fell out that want to be part of the reading. And I think I'm just going to take them in the order that they came out here. So like I said, there is definitely this sense of a feeling of love, but with the Chariot in reverse, not being able to move toward it. The good news is this is not love that is fleeting. This is not something that is quick. This is something that instead is that bond between the two of you. So it lasts. It lasts throughout your lifetime. It lasts beyond your lifetime. It's an energetic bond that is basically comes from the oneness that the two of you share. In some cases, this has manifested as kind of like what you read about or you hear about as kind of like that twin flame sort of connection where the two of you have effectively triggered one another into learning a lot of lessons. That's why these secrets that are coming out and these truths are very much about you. So we'll look in a little bit as to not just how you cope, but where you need to focus. Because the question really is, okay, so I'm disappointed with this. It's in my memories along with the rest of the good things. How do I cope with these things and still come away feeling like, you know, that I can tolerate this and cope with this? I mean, cope really is the right word. But there's a feeling today of not moving forward quickly. We see that here again with the Five of Wands, but this is not just not moving forward quickly. It's not engaging in a battle, but it's not only that. It is also a sense of very much going with the flow. Going with the flow, unfortunately, it doesn't really allow you to capture what's powerful about the Five of Wands. In the upright, it takes a lot of work, but you can get all the efforts to go in the same direction, and it creates this really strong push. In the reverse, there's not the push, and so there's not as much of an opportunity, but there's also not as much of an emotional risk. And with this Two of Wands in reverse, that's a good thing. So the Two of Wands in reverse is kind of that inability to get past much in the way of emotional risk. So this is a feeling of laying low, but it feels like it might be a reasonably a well prescribed one. It seems like maybe laying low is kind of the energy of what is needed for this day. So not saying that you stay in the house and don't do anything. Maybe it's a very busy day, but energetically and emotionally, it's got this sense of kind of laying low. So let's look into now. You know, the question was, how do I reconcile my disappointment with the things that my person did? But let's look a little bit more deeply into why your person has behaved the way that they've behaved. And so for everyone, this is going to be a little bit different. But we've got this Six of Mirrors, and it's really them kind of not thinking about... and let's keep this one. It's kind of an honorable mention, but because we're going to be drawing so few cards from it in this portion, and it feels so right, we're going to go ahead and keep it. So mirrors are water energy in this deck. Six of Mirrors in reverse says they aren't thinking about their actions or weren't thinking about their actions. This is much more a past tense because of the way that I asked the question. You know, what caused them to behave the way that they did when they did the things that made you disappointed? And so that is going to take many different forms. And so that's why you really are going to have to apply this one to yourself, because everybody was disappointed by different things. Now, in a lot of cases, there are patterns. It was about communication, or it was about not having that equal give and take. I even feel a little bit of that in here, but it's like a sense of neglect rather than not thinking about it, not just not thinking about it. We also have the Knight of Mirrors. They thought things were going better than they were. So somewhere in here, they were a little bit surprised by something, and it may have been something that happened within themselves. Like they realized that they thought they were a lot more comfortable with something, and then realized that they actually couldn't do it. They couldn't abide it. I dropped a few cards, and it's important that we pick those up exactly the way that they fell, because they look like they had yes, we do want this one. We do want, well, we don't want all of these actually. So I'm a little bit of a sloppy shuffler today, but the cards are being allowed to really just kind of jump out the way they want to, and it works well. So we've got the Death card in reverse, the Three of Pentacles in the upright, the Nine of Swords, and the Queen of Cups. All the last three are in the upright here. So with the Death card here that is in reverse, this is about not wanting to acknowledge a change as it's coming out. So, like I said, they thought things were going a little bit better than they were. They were definitely not acknowledging something, possibly even kind of pressing it or pushing it down, seeing it and saying, I'm not going to deal with this right now. But with this Three of Pentacles, the way that the two of you coalesced, the way your energy coalesced and came together, it kind of, again, it's a powerful Three of Pentacles. Here lately, sometimes when the Three of Pentacles comes out, it means something that feels a little unorthodox to me. Like if I were to look it up in the book, this is not a meaning that would be there in those words. It comes from the meanings that are in the book, but it's a little bit different. But what's so special about it is it feels so strong. So this is minor arcana, and it feels almost as strong as this major arcana Death card. Major arcana is for those major themes in your life. Minor arcana is for the color that kind of fills it in. So there's definitely kind of a resistance to an overall change, something that needs to happen here, but it's moving along, and it basically pushes them into a situation where they're forced to acknowledge the change. They're not very comfortable with it, so there's a lot of anxiety that comes from that, but it's mixing in with a lot of love. And so that's why you get that kind of, that Knight of Wands in the reverse sometimes comes out as this player or this gets in, gets out, is very inconsistent sort of energy. This is that inconsistent energy, or rather, that's what's below that. So if you were to pull out that Knight of Wands and say, what is happening with this Knight of Wands in reverse? Why is it feeling this way? You would say, well, there's a lot of love. There's a lot of free flow of emotion and attraction here. There's also a lot of fear, consternation. This is anxiety. So there's anxiety coming out, and it's like it's telling them, and this is past tense now, but it was like it was telling them all the worst things that could happen, all the worst things about themselves. So they had all these wonderful choices and options and roads they could walk down with you, and they chose not to, and instead to do something that basically removed them a little bit emotionally. So in some cases, they ghosted completely. There is people blocked others on social media. There is, I've just stopped talking. Or in other cases, I'm sitting right across the room from you, but our communication, meaningful communication, has all but ceased. And it's about feeling like they didn't have choices, even though they on some level knew that they did. Choices with you. This isn't other options. This is specifically options with you that for some reason seem very clouded in their estimation. And it feels like there's just a lot of fear that had taken over at this point when they did the things that disappointed you. So we're going to look at how you cope and where you focus here in a minute. But it's interesting looking at it's like it reminds me of if you've ever been walking in like a natural waterway and you couldn't see the bottom, and you're walking and all of a sudden the bottom gets a lot deeper and it drops out. It's like it's what happened here. The bottom, all of a sudden they're just walking along their merry way, and all of a sudden the bottom drops out and they just sink, and they're deep in this emotion that they didn't expect to be there, which is kind of what's coming from that Three of Pentacles. But they're resistant to the change that comes from it. They don't understand the options they have with you. They panic. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of running away, and it creates this delay. So we're definitely seeing that sense of a delay and things not necessarily happening. And on the other hand, we feel that there's this strong sense of the two of you creating like this masterful union. It's this, the two of you together are greater than the sum. The whole of the two of you together is greater than the sum of your parts. But there's a delay in the two of you coming together because of all that work that we've seen in the past. So we've seen this star card come out in the past in some of these readings, meaning this. But basically there's healing needed on both sides, but unfortunately there's not a strong sense of being able to do that. It's a feeling of like having your hands tied, even though they're actively they're actively making changes. They're actively being able to do things, but they don't register it as having control, the kind of control that they want to have. And so I haven't seen the Emperor come out here in the reverse, but it kind of feels like an Emperor in reverse with how much they'd like to have control of the situation and yet feel like they don't, or maybe even a King of Wands in reverse kind of feeling. So we do have the Judgment card in reverse and the Five of Swords in reverse, which has them kind of fighting the wrong battles over here, putting energy in the wrong place, and as I sometimes say, throwing good energy after bad. So the energy that they could be using to kind of build themselves back up and pull themselves back out of this difficult spot, they're not currently really doing that. They're not really doing that. They're seeing the error of their ways, but they're not putting the energy toward properly fixing that. Or at least that's what was happening at the time of this disappointment. So some of you are still experiencing that time of disappointment. And I feel like I keep being pulled into the now. And another thing that I think causes that is I think a lot of this is still kind of happening. If you could have not seen this person in 2 years and you could materialize in front of them and they would immediately start with judging themselves and realizing the error of their ways. They could immediately start feeling like they're flooded with their options. They don't know what to do. Immediately feel like they need to run away, like their hands are tied, like they are. This throwing good energy after bad also has this sense of it's not just fighting the wrong battle, it's insisting on winning at any cost. And it's like that energy just picks up right where it was, right where it left off, and they suddenly feel like they're being carried away, and that resistance also picks up immediately. So they balked. They freaked out, panicked, balked, and that is essentially why they did what they did. Now let's see what you can do about it as far as what you can be focusing on and what's the best way for you to cope with this situation. Because for a lot of you, you were really not expecting this to go this way. Maybe you didn't have strong expectations about it, came into it feeling like you had just met somebody that was kind of interesting, kind of cool. Oh, okay. This is about pouring energy into something different. This is basically creating a third party energy on your own end. So it doesn't specifically speak to a romantic third party energy. So it's not saying go date somebody else. But it is saying to put your energy into something that isn't this. So we've seen some nudges in that direction in the past. This is feeling less like a nudge and more like a push, like an active push to focus on something that feels different from your person, but it can still be, I still get that sense it can be associated with your person. This is supposed to be that thing that sets your soul on fire, and you're being told to jump in. Like if you're sitting there dabbling in it and poking, putting your toes in the water a little bit, this is that push to jump in entirely. So if you're wondering if it's time to move forward with something, it's time to move forward with something. We're keeping them all. We've got the King of Cups, the Creator, and the Strength card. Strength card is here in reverse because it's not time for something yet. So it's time for you to move forward with the first steps of something that is exciting to you and that is an opportunity for you. But there's something else that you're going to need to hold back from. And it feels more like this is associated with your person. So it's a matter of holding back from your person and putting your energy towards something different. There is a strong association. This feels like the High Priestess right here. This is feeling like the High Priestess very much in this Creator card. And it feels like associating your or aligning your higher power, your higher self to create manifestation energy. So this is not manifestation that goes against God or what your representation of God is, because everyone's is a little bit different, even people who have the same religion. This isn't going against that. It's very much aligning with that. This is being aligned with the universe. It's being aligned with the powers that be. It's aligning your own higher self with that and saying, okay, I'm open. I'm here for you to take me and put me in the right place. I'm jumping into this. So you don't even have to know what this opportunity is. You just have to offer yourself up to be part of it. But you really have to, because you're not necessarily going to have the strength to jump into it yourself. And again, it's not time to do something with regard to your person. You've got this King of Cups energy, so you're going to run up against, I think, a little bit of something that creates fear in you, or it's a fear based wall. So you're going to create a wall that really has a lot to do with you being concerned and you being afraid of something that's going to happen or materialize there. We want this Five of Pentacles. You've got healing that is going to be actively happening. It's a beautiful type of healing. This doesn't feel bad at all. This feels exactly like so even it feels like the opposite of this Strength card that we see in the reverse. It feels really fantastic. So we've got the Three of Wands here. You've already set something very positive in motion. You've already met somebody or started something that, whether you are aware of this opportunity or not, you are ready now to move directly into it. And the lessons that you have learned have created a situation for you so that you now have, less resistance to the concepts that you need to learn. They're going to come in for you a little bit more easily. People are going to come in a little bit more easily for you. This is that connection with the universe once again. So we have the Creator card, we have the Mother Star card. They are the yin and yang. They are the yes and no. They say yes and no on the card, but I'm so drawn away from both the yes and the no on this card. It's really about connection with that higher power and alignment between your higher self and that higher power so that you are co-creating with the universe. Because one of the things that feels like it wasn't able to happen for your person is they didn't have that ability to co-create with the universe, but they were not thinking about it as co-creation with the universe. They were really more thinking about it as taking matters into their own hands and doing things that they felt needed to happen. The one thing that I will say is that it feels like energy starts moving really quickly. So this wanted to come out earlier, but in kind of over here, and it was kind of, oh, not yet. Don't pull it out yet. This is energy that begins moving quickly. It is not today. It is not immediately, but it could be very near term. Or I guess I should say for the vast majority of you, it is not today, but it should be very near term. This Ten of Wands, you are still carrying responsibilities that don't belong to you, that you are going to be able to walk away from, but you don't necessarily have the wherewithal to do that. Yeah, okay. So you have a decision to make that I think is going to be of paramount importance for you in your overall healing here. It's going to be part of coping with this. So the universe is telling you to align with the universe, stop worrying about this situation. It's going to take care of itself, but it has to be allowed to take care of itself, I guess. And with the decision that you're making, this is you. It's not the decision to pull yourself out of the consternation associated with this, because you can't pull yourself out of this bond. Even if you cut the bond between the two of you, you can't really cut yourself out of this bond. It's going to regrow. It may look a little bit different. It's always going to be there in some way. But you take yourself off the path that associates yourself with the consternation and the anxiety around this bond. And that's really what happens here. But it has to do with dropping some of those responsibilities that are truly not made for you. It's about having a curiosity and being willing to walk into the unknown. It's a Page of Wands and not a Page of Swords, but I still feel it very much like a willingness to walk into the unknown and a feeling of being willing to be curious. So we have the King of Swords here, which is kind of, this is really a warning. Hey, don't forget to back up and take a look at the big picture. That's really kind of what wants to come out here. So take a look at the big picture, plug yourself into the higher power. We are going to look a little bit more into what your person will be doing in the background here. And oh, I just dropped a couple of cards. Sorry about that. So I dropped a couple of cards and like one of them caught wind and flew across the room. So we're going to get in on the extended, and I should have just set those down and left them there. We're going to get in on the extended, and we're going to take a look at more. So we've seen kind of what happened to your person that caused them to do what they did, where they balked, where they panicked, where they freaked out. But we're going to look in there and see if we can understand a little bit more of that on a deeper level, and also get more of what change has to be happening in the background while you're working on what you're doing over here, because you're being told very much to just focus on something different. So we're going to look into that here when we get into the extended. And this one, we're going to definitely spend some time on your healing and what needs to happen there as well. So I look forward to seeing you there. If you want to go, the link is down below. Otherwise, I will see you in tomorrow's reading.